Can't have one. Who says I can't? Give it to me. Now, I want to wear 'em like braids in my hair, and I don't want to share 'em. And if I don't get the things I am after, I'm going to scream.
Hello everyone. Today I wanted to continue our discussion on bad behavior and bad ideas. In this clip that you saw that I sped up 1.5 times the normal speed, you could see Veruca Salt's temper tantrum back in the movie version of the book in 1971. And the point of me speeding it up, making her sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, was that's basically what we hear as adults when kids are throwing their tantrums. It's just a lot of noise and a lot of emotion signifying nothing.
Here's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
I do want to talk about some of the 3 articles that I have today, but I also want to bring in the techniques that I learned in my special education classes for de-escalating behaviors before you even get to physical management of those behaviors. The first article I want to talk about is dated December 1st, 2013, titled Some Better Ways to Cope with Toddlers' Tantrums, written by Heidi Stevens, the author of Balancing Act, I guess. And in this article, she quotes someone else stating, "Parenting most constant task is to resist yielding to the first emotion that surfaces." And in parentheses, she adds, "Don't act like your child." I think that's pretty important to remember, that you are the adult and you don't want to start a screaming match. When one screams, then you not only have to scream, but you have to scream above that so that they can hear you. So then they feel like they have to match you, but they feel like they have to be louder than you to be heard themselves. And it goes up and up until you can see that you can't even see my hands in the screen. So one of the teaching techniques that I heard in general education is that when you whisper, people have to come in a lot closer to hear you. And that means that they're automatically quieting themselves so that they can hear you and find out what you want to say. When you're in full-blown tantrum mode, that's not the technique. No one's going to be heard, and it's just going to be like what Patrick Stewart as Macbeth said in that last clip. Moving on, in the same article, she has 3 enumerated techniques for these young children. One is try singing, not talking. And I think that's cute for these toddler age children. The funny thing of her technique is when you're in the first stages of that temper tantrum, before it even begins, using little singing techniques like only use the left side of your face. That was my right, but you get the idea. When I was in that physical management training seminar, they taught us how verbal commands that aren't commands can really calm down even crooks in jail, because that's what our training teacher was, a corrections officer in a prison. And he had said when some of his crooks were getting a little rowdy, he'd bring up a totally unrelated topic that would just make them laugh and smile. They're having an altercation in the yard, and the CO comes to them and says, I really like vanilla ice cream. Like, where did that come from? Left field? So getting them to think of something else just gets them out of that altercation and brings them to another topic. The second technique in the article for calming children is try laughing, not scolding. I disagree with this. This shows that you're not feeling connected to the child or other person's emotions, that you are belittling them, not thinking there are valid reasons for being upset. It may not be valid for you to be upset about, in the article, wearing socks when you don't want to, but in their mind, maybe it's not just the fact of them having to wear socks. Maybe it's a borderline autistic thing where they don't want the texture of the sock on their skin. Maybe it's I don't want you telling me what to do thing. And what I would suggest for that particular topic would be, all right, if you don't want to wear socks, if it's a warm day outside, you can wear sandals. Or if you don't want to wear the red socks, what color socks do you want to wear? The third technique in the article is try making it look hard, not easy. And what it goes on to say in a kind of rough manner is that when you make things look too easy and that your kids are perfect and that everything is always wonderful, nobody wants to offer you help because they think you don't need it. And meanwhile, you're struggling and ripping out your hair. If you show your weaknesses, if you show that you're struggling, people are more likely to offer assistance. Join a carpool group, offer to give neighbors a ride to school while you bring your kids, and then have them bring your kids another day. Trade off on roles. Pack bag lunches, have them pack bag lunches. Anything that will take the burden off of you as a parent. And that also helps with you being closer to the teachers at school, because when you're less stressed about your child, you're not resenting going to meetings about your child. And I know that sounds harsh, but all the parents out there who are overstressed know what I'm talking about. If you're too stressed out about the monotony of every day, the tantrums, the calls home, everything, just turning down the temperature on your own psyche can really help how you deal with your children. And that's that first article. The second article that I want to talk about is Work with Teachers to Tame Children's Aggression, written by John Roseman. It was dated May 14, 2014. And what the article embodies is a Q&A from parents to John about their defiant and just started to be physically violent child in his classroom. And while John makes a good point about not asking why the behavior is happening, because 10 different psychologists will give you, 7 different reasons on why the behavior is occurring, you need to focus in on that one child and find out what's more, which he doesn't state. But he does suggest that defiance may be a child's reaction to an impatient teacher or an overly structured classroom, the rather ubiquitous result of over-regulation. And what he is suggesting from that is working with the teacher to agree with their techniques. I don't like this because that makes you feel stifled as a parent and unable to change what's going on. That technique may have worked for that teacher for years, or it may be their first year as a teacher. No matter what, you want to talk to them and say, listen, my student's not getting anything out of this because this defiant behavior, and I am their advocate as their parent. I want this classroom's environment to change, either less structure or more structure. I want either less individualized attention if they're hovering, or more individualized attention if they're being left behind. Anything that the student needs should be gotten out of that classroom. If the teacher is not willing to work with you, then go up higher into the education system. I'm going to repeat this multiple times, I hope. Do not go to the superintendent of schools once you have talked with the teacher. Your chain of command should be the teacher, any kind of special educator, the principal who should speak to the special educators. Then you can go up a little bit higher to various people in the Board of Ed. But do not go straight from teacher to superintendent. It looks bad, and you're not giving everyone a fair share try to help your student and help you with them succeed. The last article that I wanted to talk about is specifically about the teachers. It says, "Don't insult teachers, they are doing." And it was written by Robert Thornton back in November of 2013. The reason that I'm bringing this one up is it contains the one phrase that my dad taught me when I said that I wanted to be a teacher. He says, "Those that can, do. Those that can't, teach." And what's more is when he wanted to be a teacher, they added, "Those who can't teach, teach teachers." Well, I'm laughing, but I'm really upset because part of being a teacher is having 3 types of knowledge: the knowledge of your students, the knowledge of how to teach your students, and the knowledge of the content in which you're reading and teaching. There's so much that teachers have to constantly be aware of and change based on the student body, based on the material they're teaching, based on the current styles of teaching of the district or what's hot and new in education at the time. So if your child is having an issue, know that they should be in great hands because teachers don't just know the content, they also know how to teach it and how to teach it specifically designed for your students. Before I get into Taylor Molly, What Teachers Make rant, let's talk about some techniques for de-escalating, or at least one today. So if we want to look at the whole picture, we want to see what are the stages of a tantrum. First, there's the stressful incident. If you know that your student gets upset before music class, make sure that they know, okay, today is going to be music day. Okay, today is going to be louder. Are you going to be ready for it? Let's hum as we go there. Let's do some musical math facts as we get there. Let's do some musical parts of speech as we get to math, as we get to music. The second is the student's feelings. Acknowledge their feelings. Let them know that you know how they feel about going to music class. I keep going back to math. Say, "I know you don't like the loud noises, so let's make sure you stay away from any amps. You stay away from your classmates a bit. Let's see if some of the music that's done in class can be of a quieter variety." Allegro, I think, is the music term for it. If I'm not correct, leave me a comment down below. The third stage is the student's observable behaviors. When they go to music class and they're feeling anxious, do they cover their ears? Do they start screaming? Do they hit people? Do they run out of the classroom? What do they do? Write them down, form an action plan. If you need to use physical management, do so, but sparingly, because the first technique should not be physical aggression or restraint or anything like that. We don't even like the term restraint anymore. And the fourth stage of de-escalation is the adult or peer reaction. Sometimes students don't want to hear from peers because they feel we're on the same even playing field, so I only want to hear from an adult. Sometimes students don't want to hear from adults because they feel they're being talked down to. So it all depends on what type of student it is, but you have to make sure that they're ready to discuss their feelings before it gets back to a stressful incident again. Hopefully talking about those stages helped you out. There's a picture right over here. And if you liked this video, I hope that you like it. Comment down below if you want to hear similar topics. I do have a set of things that I need to get through, but I'd love to hear your comments. And don't forget to please hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.
Oh, shiitake mushrooms.
Don't post that on YouTube! I'm gonna break this lock if you don't give me the key.